be forgetting something. So if I overlook something, then we'll have that up. We can gesture around on there, talk about it. So on launch day, January 17th, I think we might have all the either faction leaders or representatives of the faction leaders lined up. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that the two Fresno guys can come visit us for that one and help represent their factions. And of course, anyone else local enough to Modesto, we would love for you guys to come out. Like I said, it's going to be noon, our time PST, and then that means it's going to be afternoon for the East Coast guys and evening for the Europeans. We're going to be playing in Castle Funarf. Funarf is my brother-in-law. He has been generous enough to help us set up in his garage. He's got a very spacious garage with a projector and a really cool, like, giant table and stuff. And so when we played season 0, obviously we were all there in person and we just stood around. Actually, we had one remote guy, but he was just audio. We're up in the ante for season 1, so we're going to have this long table. If you imagine like the TTS table he's got here with the map laid out in front of everybody. I'll have these ancillaries printed out for all the people who show up. So if somebody comes and they're playing the Tyrells, he'll have the Tyrell sheets out that you'll just be able to write on and keep notes on, so you don't have to like be fiddling around with your phone and stuff. And then at the one end of the long table, we are going to have a giant projector screen hanging down. And on that, we're going to have Discord open, and hopefully we'll have, Leon and Mazarath and Chornbow and One and whoever can attend from the European side. So hopefully it will feel like we're all in this roundtable setting. I am going to be, as the campaign organizer, just kind of acting as an MC during council phase. So I will be like giving the floor to people. Council phase is intended to be very free form. There's a tiny bit of structure to it. There's some things that have to happen at the beginning, some things that have to be done by the end. But other than that, it's meant to be very free form. It's meant to feel like a political medieval court and receiving news of different things and discussing different things like that. And so I think that the best way to do it in terms of making the declarations is going to be, I will have Discord open, and if faction leaders or their representatives, whoever's going to be making declarations, if you guys want to make an official declaration, if you can just DM me something like, free folk motivation tracks are ready. Okay, when I get that DM, I'll know if somebody else is talking. Okay, the next person that I need to give the floor to is Mazarath. So when that person's wrapped up and we've got all the documentation done for that, I'll say, Mickey has the floor, and hey, what's up, Pasha? And then Mickey will be able to speak, make the declaration, we'll get it all logged, and everyone will have their chance to like acknowledge what he said and make sure that everybody tracks that. That's the important part of council phase, is that all the representatives present have the opportunity to hear, react, comment on. Obviously, we're not trying to get into long, drawn out debates or whatever. So if you have more like flavorful type stuff to say, like in character insults or something like that, I would encourage you to probably try and put that into general chat for fun, more than taking up airtime in the actual audio chat, so that way we can keep the game rolling a little bit. Like you guys are all now, I'm looking at the chat right now, everybody's got their mics muted. Like that's cool, I appreciate that. That's very respectful, and I think that council phase will seem a lot like this, although a little bit of friendly banter or commentary. The odd Great John outburst is welcome to keep everybody laughing and having, yeah, or the Ryrick duck sound, like anything like that. I do appreciate and will be fine. So, in terms of documentation, the way it's going to work is a the faction leader, when the faction leader says something that is a game mechanic and they have the floor and they're making that declaration, it is official. So for instance, when Leon, when I give the floor to Leon and I say, please give us the state of Iron Fleets for this council phase and any adjustments. Leon has the floor. Leon is going to say, House Greyjoy has 2 fleets unlocked at start, and the first fleet captain is this person, and he's going to tell us the location of that fleet. He's going to tell us the flagship that was selected for that fleet, and he's going to tell us any support vessels from the Iron Islands that he has committed to that fleet. That is going to be logged in 2 places. The first place is on Discord. There's a channel called S1 Declarations, and that is going to be primarily done by Griffin, Night's Watch Griffin, or Dolorous Ed, as he's known in this chat. He's going to be our sort of head scribe for the campaign, and so what he's going to do is he's going to go into S1 Declarations, and I'll write a sample right now that I will then delete. And he's going to say something like, add House Greyjoy.
I think you haven't unlocked the channel for everyone. At least I can't see it.
Okay, great point. You are correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Leon, can you now see hashtag S1 Declarations?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to put a sample one in there. House Greyjoy first Iron Fleet is Fleet Captain Theon Greyjoy, flagship Silence, support, Great Wick, and obviously there's no Vendetta. So it will look something like that post that I just put in there. So he's going to at the relevant faction or 2 if there are, and he's going to basically type in just the relevant data of what happened. After council phase, we will go through, he and I will go through that together, and we'll edit not for content, but for just like style and format, to make sure that all the appropriate information is logged, so that all of you guys as faction leaders, as players, as scribes, whatever you are, when you guys have a question like, oh, what did House Greyjoy do or whatever, you'll be able to search by term, you'll be able to search by at name of the faction or anything like that, and hopefully find that information as quickly as possible to help you decide what moves you want to make. The second place that this information is going to be logged is on the Google Sheets. And this is going to be the responsibility of the individual scribes and faction leaders, not Griffin. Griffin's doing the like community log for us. So if I go over to Google Drive, well, you guys have seen the Google Drive. There's folders that have just the naked copies of all the sheets in them, but then you'll see that there's S1 Free Folk, S1 Brotherhood Without Banners, S1 House Aaron, etc. So all of those I have given permission access to the scribes as they have requested it. If there's any faction leaders who are like, "Man, I think on that day, I think I'm going to be the one logging it," then just go ahead and go into that, go into any one of those folders. Like if it's, if it were Chris and he wanted to, or if it was Cody and he wanted access for himself for House Aaron, he would go to S1 House Aaron, and then he would just click at the top and request edit access to that document. I would get the email and I would give it to him. So what those look like, if you haven't had a chance to look at those, they're Word documents that have these these images underneath editable text boxes, so that basically you can change the text on a sheet. So a good one would be like the Free Folk one. The Free Folk one has editable text boxes in all of the slots on the motivation track, so that the scribe can go in there and literally type in a Tormund Giant's Bane is covering this slot, and Varamir Six Skins is covering this slot, and whatever, he can fill that stuff in. So this part of it is not as urgent that everything needs to be filled in the millisecond that it happens. So if you're the faction leader or scribe that's responsible for this, like don't give yourself a stroke trying to input this stuff like second by second during council phase. Get to it as you go. The hope is that the sheets and the work that Griffin is doing logging this stuff in the Discord. That way we have two records that we can cross-reference if there's any questions. If anybody's like, man, even I'm the faction leader and I can't remember how I declared this or what exact thing, we can compare those two records, the one from your faction scribe and then the one that actually went out on Discord, and hopefully come to the correct answer. Or if there's still any discrepancy, we can get with the referees and figure out the fairest possible outcome for everybody. So I think that pretty much sums up how documentation will be covered. Does anybody have any questions about documentation before I get into the actual sequence of council? Cool. All right. I'm going to assume I'm doing an okay job.
I have the forming of a question that might be helpful for other people. Um, and so you gave a specific example for Greyjoy of like something and that's faction specific, right? They have like which fleet is what and which
Yeah.
commander is on which whatever. Um, and that's going to vary obviously per faction. Um, is that on? I'm just looking for Greyjoy. Where is that on the Greyjoy sheet?
So if you look at the Greyjoy strategy sheet, the left side of the strategy sheet is a bunch of
There it is. Okay.
boxes that contain information about his iron fleets. And this is something, as the Night's Watch faction leader, yes, strategically, it's probably good for you to understand how this works since you're going to be interacting with Greyjoy, but you don't need to memorize all the rules of the coin and how adding support ships works. That's Leon's problem, and I believe Leon does have a super solid lock on that. And the Greyjoy guys, who else we have? Ryrick in here as well, and Logical Fallacy. So, guys, Greyjoy guys, if you have any questions about Iron Fleets, please reach out to me if anything seems unclear or you're not sure how it works. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I'll say my point and maybe whatever. So I was thinking more at the challenge log. So I'm getting ahead of you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just because I've done it in season 0 and just want to point out the challenge of there's a lot of information and definitely there's a lot more structure this time around. So templating the information necessary to make these even for your own faction or definitely in the challenge log. I don't know if you've I'm sure the scribes have looked up the sample challenge log and that kind of stuff that we worked on last season, but having in front of you all of the things you need to capture for the different events ahead of time is super helpful. So the spreadsheet
Great
should help a
teaser.
lot with that.
Great teaser. The spreadsheet is very automated with drop downs and everything. I'm pretty stoked about it. So as soon as we get through talking about council phase, we'll go to challenge phase, and I hope
Yeah,
you guys
I conflated the challenge phase, the challenge
You're
log
good.
spreadsheet with the
For
operation.
sure.
So never mind.
You're good. Any other questions about like council documentation before I get into meat and potatoes of council phase? Hearing none. Proceeding. All right, I'm going to pull up the core rules under the rules and admins folder in season 1. I'm going to go to the council phase guide page. Pasha had a good question this morning that I came across where I neglected to put in the Vassal Lords core rules. I neglected to put their starting might and coin in there, but it's very simple for them because it's just whatever they get from the territory that they control, with the notable exception of House Tyrell, because House Tyrell starts out as vassal to House Baratheon, so they're immediately just handing off the might and coin that they receive. If anyone else is curious about those calculations, they're on page 12, core rulebook. And we find council phase sequence on page 13. So we will now begin a sample council phase. So like I said, we're going to try and start around noon. I was going to do a brief, just 5-minute trophy presentation for season 0. But old Hambone of House Stark is not even going to do us the dignity of attending. He has other plans. So
I would
we're not gonna do
gladly
that.
accept the award.
Yeah, we're etching his name on a sweet Westeros trophy and everything, but maybe we'll give it to him at month 2 council phase or something. So, just reading from the book here, council phase begins when all faction leaders or their designated representatives are present, ready to begin. All factions must declare any end of month. Obviously, that doesn't apply in month 1. Effects which were triggered at the end of the previous month. All factions then declare any start of month effects triggered for the current month. So the first thing we're going to do is establish the might ranking. You guys remember that you gather might from 1 from any capitals you control, 1 from each region you control. Then you count up all the region developmental perks. Then you double check your battle and defeat or victory effects that you accumulated through the previous battle phase, so that won't happen in month 1. Then you're going to double check your strategy sheet for any bonuses that you get from that. And then this is new to season 1. Holding captured characters now pays out might, which won't apply season 1. Then you're going to tally up your coin, come from region and developmental perks. You're going to double check the coin that you collected from any sacks during the battle phase, and then you're going to check your strategy sheet for any other special effects that could generate coin for you. Then we're going to determine that might ranking. The might ranking goes 1 through 10, 1 being the highest, 10 being the lowest, and you guys all already know your might rankings and everything. It's by total cumulative might. If there's any ties, it explains how to break those ties. Okay, after it's been established, the factions may perform the following actions in any order, declaring all relevant actions to the whole table as they're performed. Referees should control the pace to ensure that all players have opportunities to speak, be heard, and react to circumstances as they occur. So, all factions may declare and pay -1 coin to unlock any number of developments in regions they control where there is no hostile commander presence. So I would announce that, and at this point, I would open the floor to everyone. And also, I might be getting things out of order. I might be getting people I might be getting Cody texting me, hey, we want to make this declaration. And if I don't have anyone else who's ready or in line to speak at that point, I'm just going to give the floor to Cody. So the order that things are on page 13 of core rules is only the order that I'm going to follow, like by default, if no one is speaking up, because I don't know how people are going to play. Right? I don't know. Some of you are introverts, some of you are extroverts, some of you are going to want other people to talk first. Some of you are hyper strategic thinkers who are like, I definitely don't want to talk until I've heard this other thing be resolved. In which case, feel free to message me that as well. And if if I can accommodate that, then I will. But barring any of that information, I'm just going to follow the flow of this to make sure that we get everything resolved. So an example would be Cody messages me, hey, we're ready to make our development declarations. I would say, all right, House Aaron has a declaration to make. And Cody would say something like,
Pay 1
Cody,
to
give us a-
develop Galltown.
All right. Except you have corrupt bureaucracy.
Oh wait, that's right. Pay 4 to develop Galltown. Fuck Peter Baelish.
Yeah. So yeah, Cody would do something like that. We would all take 5 seconds to make fun of the corruption in the Vale and how inept their bureaucracies are, and then Griffin will go in that Discord channel. I'm gonna pull up here, and he would say something like, House Aaron pays, I think it's -3, going to develop. And Goldtown's the name of the development, right?
Yeah. Or it might be Runestone, but
something like Runestone's the region, Goldtown's the development. So it would look something like that, and then that would be logged. It would be the responsibility technically of Chris, because Chris is the Aaron scribe, to make sure that like a note is made somewhere on their Google Sheets as well. But again, that's more of a like in-faction thing, or if we need to go dig up some details, we can go look at that. And knowing Cody's very on top of things, so he'll probably make that note on his live sheet himself. Any questions about that part? Developments. Hey, Chornbow's here. Look at that. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, man. I think Cody is recording, so you will be able to watch the first little bit of this where I talked about council phase documentation, how we're going to log everything. Right now, we're just talking about how I will pass the mic to different faction leaders or scribes or their representatives who are going to be making declarations. So that's what a development would look like. I don't think there's any questions about that. That's pretty straightforward. One of the things that's going to have to get covered here, the next paragraph down, is the Iron Throne faction, which everybody knows the Iron Throne faction can change. That's whoever controls the Red Keep development. In this case, that is House Lannister. They must negotiate small council seats. Default characters occupying those seats at the start of month are, and I would read off those characters. At this point, if Anna was ready, she would take this away. This is something where I assume there's going to be a bunch of backroom dealings on her part. This is going to be one of the longer declarations because there's 8 or 9 different seats that she has to declare, and that's going to be a long one that Griffin will be typing in, and he will be tagging all the different factions who have characters on that board. Before Anna declares a character in that seat, if she's going to vacate the seat, like if she's going to evict Eddard Stark from Hand of the King, that is its own declaration. So she'll say, House Lannister removes Eddard Stark as Hand of the King. I believe there is a cost associated with that. I have to double check. I think there's a 1 coin cost associated with the removal of the person, and then she would state who she installs. Maybe it's just a cost for the install, not the removal. I'll have to double check the sheet. pausing for any questions about Iron Throne faction stuff. Not hearing any. Moving on to House Baratheon. It's me, so I'd be looking at my sheet here, and I would be taking note of, I would declare, for instance, well, I'll just do it. I'll say, House Baratheon declares the Crown Lands and the Stormlands for Stannis, and the Reach for Renly, and at this point, Stannis has the greater claim. So Griffin will log that information. That's going to telegraph to all of you, whether Renly or Stannis armies are going to tend to be stronger in terms of the numbers, the +1s and such that they can field. And you guys can all take note of that and adjust your strategies accordingly. And then that's a thing that for House Baratheon is locked in. I can gain new territories, which can affect the numbers a little bit, but in terms of actually stating the declared realms, that is locked in for the month. So that's a big deal for Baratheons. House Bolton, any Boltons here? Looks like no Bolton representatives here. Hopefully they'll watch this recording later. They're going to have to declare the current tallies of schemes for each of the Bolton commanders. So kind of minor one for them, but still important, just because that needs to be on everybody's radar. If the Boltons are racking up a bunch of schemes, especially on any individual one of their commanders, that's a really good thing for other faction leaders to be able to go peek at their sheet and be like, hey, wait a second, what can Ramsay do when he has 7 schemes? And then give you at least the opportunity to predict what types of terrible, sadistic BS the Boltons are cooking up. I can say all that because there's no Bolton players here to correct me. Okay, Brotherhood Without Banners. So during month 1, Brotherhood Without Banners are not going to have a declaration because there are currently no captured characters. So the Brotherhood Without Banners get a very quiet opening where they're just like playing background politics, essentially. Now, for months 2 through 6, the Brotherhood Without Banners is one of the most critical parts of every council phase because they're going to be selecting from the global pool of captured characters, one character for a trial by combat, and we're going to go through the whole trial by combat process, which is going to have like several declarations within it. On the Discord. Yes. Yes, we have a dice rolling bot on the Discord, and we can cover how to do that. I got to remember the command for like a D6 roll or something on it. But for public dice rolls, that's probably going to be the best way to do it. If you just want to hop in general or whatever, whoever is, if this was Chornbow himself acting as one of the, or rolling for one of the champions in a trial by combat, he can do that D6 roll on the general Discord. We can all see the result, and then Griffin will, of course, there you go. Thank you very much, Leon. Griffin will, of course, log the outcome of that trial by combat in the Discord. And then, of course, any characters that affects, the scribes attached to those characters, they need to do the logging on their individual Google Sheets. So let's say, Beric Dondarrion was fighting, who does he fight canonically? He fights the Hound, right? Sandor, right? So Beric and Sandor fight, and Sandor wins. And Beric is dead if the magic doesn't bring him back. Then the Brotherhood, Griffin will cover all that logging in Discord. The Brotherhood faction scribe will go and notate on their character sheet that Beric's character status is now dead, and the Lannister player will go to their character sheet and change Sandor's status that he's no longer captured, and whichever faction was holding Sandor, whether that be Brotherhood or somebody else, they will go log that they no longer have Sandor as a captive. And again, I'm not as worried about all that stuff being done like second by second. Like I do hope that you guys get to it in a prompt way so that you have good information in your individual sheets. But the critical place that it's going to be logged right away is the Discord Season 1 Declarations channel. Okay, we're going to Free Folk. Must reveal the current state of the Horde United. Placing the commander miniatures on the motivation tracks and photographing the strategy sheet is a good way to document this. So that's the way we did it when we were in person, of course, because we had a strategy sheet just like this. It was like on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I designed it such that the circles of the motivation tracks fit little mini trays. Mickey can do that however he wants. He did it before. He just text posted the names, but that seems pretty straightforward. That's going to give, of course, everybody around the Free Folk a good telegraph of what major list bonuses and other little perks are going to be brought into Free Folk armies that month. Then we have House Greyjoy. So House Greyjoy has a unique thing, and that is that they actually have to declare the new fleets at the start of the month, which is actually occurs before regular council phase. I forgot to mention that. So when I gave that sample before about, hey, Leon, tell us the composition of the Iron Fleets for month 1. When Leon and the rest of the Greyjoys unlock their Iron Fleets, that's a unique mechanic in that it actually occurs before the Tally All Might, Tally All Coin, because it occurs at start of month. That is the only mechanic in the game that is like that. So everybody else, all your declarations will happen after, and the Greyjoys can alter by like adding, for instance, they can add support vessels later after the fleet is actually constructed. But basically, it's a power thing for the Greyjoys. The Greyjoy fleets actually get to cash in on whatever like might or coin their supports generate. And that needs to go into the tally at the beginning of the month. That's why they get to declare their fleets at the beginning of the month. Although they can still add supports later if they, let's say they get talking, diplomatically to somebody during council phase and they end up collecting some coin as a tribute from that person. First of all, that would also be logged in Season 1 declaration. But then secondly, Leon could then use that coin to purchase another support for one of his fleets and add it, and then make a declaration that he's added that support to the fleet. Leon, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, House Lannister. Having declared any power plays are special mechanics that the Lannisters can trigger at the end of the month. So that's why they would say, again, before tallying all might and coin, they would say that, hey, this thing happened at the end of last month. I think Lannisters and Starks might be the only factions that have like end of month mechanics like that have to be clarified and logged under declarations. There's none in Season 1, so nothing weird to worry about there. They may declare flaunted wealth at any time they wish to do so, before or after the might ranking is established. They must facilitate the auction of available neutral characters using the neutral character trait sheet. They must declare any effects from the power of coin. So let's break that down a little bit. The Lannisters are the only faction in the game that have a hidden stat. Their hidden stat is their total coin. They roll a d6 in private that no one else can see except a referee. And so the thing about the Lannisters is you never know exactly how rich they are. However, the Lannisters have a special mechanic where they can reveal, they can actually say that number. And of course, the strength for them in keeping it secret is that it makes it far more difficult for other factions to like trust each other and pool coin because they don't know how much coin they might need to pool to counter the Lannisters if they're trying to counter the Lannisters. So the Lannisters can trade that advantage by revealing the coin, but then they get an amount of might equal to how much coin they exceed the next nearest person. there's a cap on it, I believe, at 10, and then they have to facilitate the auction of available neutral characters using the neutral character sheet. So that the way that is going to function, and I have Anna here, she'll correct me if I say anything wrong, but basically the Lannisters have a bunch of free reign and a bunch of advantage over this. So they are the only rules, the only restrictions that are on the Lannisters in terms of the format that they have to run this are, number one, they have to declare every single neutral character that would be available. They have to give everybody an opportunity to bid the maximum amount that they want to on that character. And then after those bids are in, after the final bids have been sealed for everybody except the Lannisters do have the special ability to make a final outbid of any one of those characters, but it's all going to happen one at a time. So, for instance, if the Brotherhood Without Banners bids on Peter Baelish, and the Boltons bid on Peter Baelish, and they're going back and forth, that bidding war is going to go on without the Lannisters. You won't know if the Lannisters are interested in that character until those two factions have reached their final bid, and then she will confirm. Okay, is that so far the Brotherhood's on top? They're bidding 4 coin. The Boltons don't want to go to past that. So is that the final bid? They say yes. Then the Lannisters can say, okay, we're going to outbid them at 5, and we take that character. At that point, once the final bids have been set, nobody can come back and supersede the Lannisters. The Lannisters will pay their 5. Whatever other people bid, they get to keep that coin. So if you have a bunch of neutral characters in mind, prioritize them the way that you want them. And if it's more important to you that you just get 1 or 2 rather than that you get several, then don't be too scared about letting your bids go up quite high, because when you get outbid, if you suspect that the Lannisters might outbid you, you're going to get all that coin back and be able to roll your bids up into the later characters. Unfortunately, or fortunately, if you are the Lannisters get to determine and pick what order they declare the characters in, and of course, I'm sure that they're going to do that strategically to their advantage. So just be aware of that. Any questions about the neutral character auction? Okay. Anna has a question.
So this is where Kyle and I got into it, is because after I made my bid, he's saying that there should be a period of time that he can now pull the remaining coin that he has from the characters that maybe I've outbid to try and outbid me.
Yeah, so after the Lannisters have declared their bid, no one can outbid them, as long as the people had the opportunity to do so before. All faction leaders have to set their top bid for a character before the Lannisters do. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions come up about that, we will discuss. I'll try and put things in the FAQ. Unless there's anything else about neutral characters, we'll move on. House Martell is going to declare any factions who are targeted by Prince's intrigues and declare the start of any new intrigues. Wait. Go ahead.
Should I guess it's going to be in the FAQ, but should we talk about the new neutral character that's coming if people don't know about it, or are we going to wait on that?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. The new neutral character that is coming, if you've seen the promo material from Hits and Crits, is the Tattered Prince. The Tattered Prince that was the subject of the contest that Hits and Crits won. If you saw recently, they announced that they revealed a NCU and an attachment version for the Tattered Prince. And if this may be news to some of you, this may be the reveal for some of you, I'm pretty sure I have Chris's permission to announce this. There's also a commander version coming out. So there's 3 versions of him. And then if you look at, so he'll be included in the neutral character bid. And then I'm going to just draw your attention quickly. If you go to MCL Season 1, Iron Throne / neutral characters, that is a folder under MCL Season 1. And that's where the Iron Throne strategy sheet is, plus the neutral character trait strategy sheet. So if you look at that, you'll see that I have added the Tattered Prince. He's about 2/3 of the way down the page. He has 2 traits like everyone does. Ultimate Distraction. Or no, that's Shay. Let's see. Okay, the Tattered Cloak. His first trait says, during the neutral character auction, the Tattered Prince will join the service of the top 2 factions bidding for him. Each faction or each version of the Tattered Prince may be played one time by each faction who controls him during the month following normal location restrictions. So that's a pretty big deal. Anna is going to have to be aware of that as she's running the neutral character auction and so will Griffin as he's logging things, in that the top 2 factions to bid on Tattered Prince get access to him. Now, you might be wondering, well, what if one wants to use him at the wall and the other wants to use him at Dorn? Well, as it says, it follows normal location restrictions. So whoever uses him first, if he's paid for in the paid service of 2 different factions, whoever uses him first, whether that means deploying him as a commander in challenge phase, which I assume would happen if you took the coin to buy him, but also if he's not deployed in challenge phase, then wherever he shows up in a battle, that becomes where he's location bound. The second faction who wants to use him, they're going to have to follow the normal location rules in terms of putting him out. Any questions about the Tattered Prince?
I'm assuming both the top and second highest bidder pay for him. I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah, good question. All that, both bid amounts go. And yeah, so I just double checked my convo with Chris. I did have permission to announce that, but I'm reserving the reveal of the Hits and Crits Commander version for him. So he is going to be showing that hopefully soon. Any other questions about that? If not,
I don't have a question about the Tattered Prince.
Go ahead.
But about the character traits.
Yeah.
Do I understand correctly that both traits are active all the time, or?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And actually, it's almost like characters have 3 traits active all the time, because whenever a character is in service to you, your faction trait also applies to them, unless it says something like, if this is a Brotherhood character. I think that's actually a specific caveat in Brotherhood and maybe 1 or 2 other factions that says, if this is a X faction character, then it gets this thing. But for any ones that don't specify this is for this type of character, your faction trait applies to any neutrals in your service.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Good question. Okay, we just got through House Martell. Okay, we're on to the Night's Watch. Night's Watch must...
Well, I interrupted you when you started Martell. We didn't do it.
Oh, okay. They're going to declare any factions who are targeted by Prince's intrigues and declare the start of any new intrigues as they occur. I'm not sure if anybody's in here. I've had a couple people reach out to me about the Martells with questions. If anybody like that is in here, please let me know, because I've got so many conversations going, it's hard to remember exactly who. But I get a little bit of the vibe that Martell is one of the hardest ones to grasp in terms of like how they work. But basically, they're just like, they're doing on the meta scale what House Martell is doing on the micro scale in the battles, which is like just being super annoying. I can again say that because I don't think there's any Martell players in here, but they're all about counterplay and disruption. So they are basically making declarations of these intrigues, which is an intrigue. The best way to think of it is like a faction-wide debuff that they're putting on you that has a number of effects. When those go on to you, myself or one of the other referees will probably get with your faction leader just to double check that you understand all the effects. Some of them are a little bit will require a lot of documentation. For instance, the one on the left side of their strategy sheet is called Subversion, and it siphons off of your might generation. Anytime that you generate 2 might from a single effect, the Martells get 1. You still get the 2, but anytime that you generate 3 or more might from a single effect, the Martells actually get 2, and one of those might is actually siphoned off. You get 1 fewer might from effects that grant 3 or more. So that actually does require quite a bit of the scribes being tuned in, because it's gonna be like an extra little declaration that is tagged on to a lot of your might gains. So don't feel bad if you feel a little bit confused about that one. You can reach out to me. The faction leader, Ace Magnum, he was also the faction leader in season 0, and he's a good dude. He'll if you message him with questions about how things work, you can message him or me. But also he is good about checking the log and making sure, hey, I think that's something that's affected by the intrigue, and he'll either contact us or contact the faction leader or whatever, and make that adjustment if it seems like something's missed. Hopefully we'll be able to stay on top of it. I've got some good referees, so I'm pretty confident. Okay, moving on to Night's Watch. Night's Watch negotiating contributions to the wall. This one's a little bit funny because in season 0, Funarf actually did this live every faction or every council phase. He actually just pled with people at the table. In season 1, it seems like a lot of the talks and dealings are going on in private messages instead. So maybe this will be a very cut and dry declaration on Night's Watch part. But they're going to declare the restorations of their abandoned castles at the wall, and the scribe will have to log that each one of those costs either cost -1 might from whatever faction sponsored it, whether that be Night's Watch or one of the factions contributing to the Night's Watch. House Stark, having declared any sacrifices triggered at the end of the previous month, so that won't apply in month 1, or retributions that are triggered at the start of the current month. So very simple pronouncements from House Stark there that basically just give everyone a heads up about the buff blocks that they have unlocked. Are there any Stark players here? Not seeing any Stark players here. Okay. House Targaryen must declare their war focus for the current month and any regions they gain through Revealed Loyalists. Revealed Loyalists won't come into effect because they haven't captured conquered any capitals yet. That's the one that flips the regions for free, one at a time after they've captured a capital. But the war focus is super critical for Targaryens. They have these 4 different spheres on their strategy sheet that indicate the army buffs that they can bring and some other special little perks. And so Beefy Bard or Bryce will be making those declarations. There was something else I was going to talk about with Stark. Oh, there's a special condition that Stark can trigger, or Targaryen, I mean. There's a special mechanic that Targaryen can trigger where they have a special ability that lets them... They get a huge amount of coin at the beginning of the game. They get 10 coin. But they can blow all that to permanently acquire Dario. So... they may do that. All right, the final thing we would check before we concluded council phase is all factions would declare, this is only going to be relevant in months after 1, if they wish to recall any commanders, moving them from the campaign map into reserve, preventing them from being deployed as commanders until the following month. Those commanders may still participate in battles or other actions as long as they are not doing so as their commander version and are still subject to normal location restrictions. So just in case there's any questions about that, I mean, an example would be, again, just like what's up, Ollie?
Die 13. Eine 1 und eine 3.
I think you forgot he
Ole
was unmuted.
unmuted.
He was saying the German words that I actually know. I actually know how to count in German, so that felt good to finally be able to understand. But Martells, so an extreme example of this would be like if the Martells have shipped a commander up north to ally with the Free Folk. Mazarath and Ace Magnum have made a deal, and they take Haunted Forest. And then month 2 comes around, and Ace Magnum realizes, dude, I actually need that commander because Dorne is under attack. I'm getting hit in 3 different places. Well, he won't be able to just snap the commander back. He won't be able to snap the version of that character that is a commander back during council phase. He can't just move, or during challenge phase. He can't just move them from Haunted Forest to Hellholt or something to do a challenge. But what he can do is he can. Just a second. What he do during council phase is he can declare that he's recalling that commander, and what that does is that resets that character's location. He's gonna his scribe would go onto his live sheets, the character section. He would change location to just like reserve. That character's technically like off the map again, and then who is that? Who is that, Cody? What character is that?
It's Gerald Dane, the Dark Star, baby.
Dark Star, perfect. So Ace Magnum could then the following month, he could play Dark Star attachment version in a battle in Dorne, which would then set his location in there. And then the following month, month 3, that would be, then we'd put Dark Star's mini on the table at the location where he performed in that battle, and now Dark Star's back in Dorne. So basically, it's a free geography reset at the cost of you can't play that commander somewhere on the board. Any questions about that? Cool. We're cruising along. I'm just going to go through the next 2 pages here, 2 or 3 pages. So just for diplomacy, the next page talks about coin captive and region exchanges. Those are all things, whether they happen in council phase or not. Some of them are certainly going to happen in council phase, but whether they happen in council phase or not, they've got to be logged. So either the scribe can log them on, your own faction scribes can log them, or the faction leaders can log them in S1 declarations, or get with Griffin and he will log them for you. And an example of that would be, at House Lannister tributes at House Baratheon 5 gold or 5 coin. And so when it's logged there, then everyone can see that it happened. There's no such thing as passing coin or captives under the table. All that stuff's got to be public knowledge for everyone when it happens. And then the appropriate changes need to be made on those 2 live sheets. That pretty much covers that page. Okay, then we'll go into challenge phase. So on the day, kind of my vision for this is on the day, the launch day on 17th, we might take like a brief, breather, restroom break, snack break, or whatever to give people a breather and in the right mindset for challenge phase. Challenge phase, unlike council phase, is much more structured, much more rigid. It's totally turn-based. So it goes from the turn order goes from, so the sequence will go something like this. Let me pull up the sample. Okay, I've got a sample challenge log in here. Cool.
I think I have the first challenge here with the Brotherhood.
Oh, you got one already? Well, I don't want you to give away your real challenges. Is this a sample?
Yeah, no, I don't give real challenges. I just want to say I'm the first one here, I think.
Yes, you were the first one. Exactly. So there's a sample challenge log that you guys can look at on the Season 1 drive. Again, in the rules/admin folder, there's a sample challenge log. If you pull that up, you'll see it looks crazy complicated, but we've built it with all drop-down boxes, so it should be pretty fast to fill out on the day. Christian, if you could pull that up, that would be cool. Maybe share your screen or something.
I shared the link.
Okay, cool. That'll work too. So as you can see, it's just a sequence of drop-down boxes. So each row is a challenge. So the things that need to be logged are the attacker faction, the event, or whether it was a skirmish that's tied with that, the commander picked by that faction, and then the next 3 columns are if there's an ally. So the guy filling it out, and in this case, it's going to be because the challenge phase actually largely will not be logged in under season 1 declarations. I mean, Griffin and I will probably go back later and punch in some key information, like where the target of Destructive Stormfront is, where the target of Tywin's Lion's Pride, the stuff at the bottom of the page. But for the most part, we won't rely on Discord. Will rely on this particular Google Sheet. So if there's no ally yet, which there's no ally yet, like right off the bat when the person makes the declaration, you're going to skip those. Griffin, who's going to be running this largely, is going to skip the next 3 lines, which would be for the attacker's ally, and then he's going to name the starting region. So in month 1, that's where the commander like pops up onto the board, and then either by land or sea. That's critical because that determines what castles are available. Sometimes for the defenders, and then the battle region. Then he's gonna state if a development is targeted. That's critical because that could also determine what castles are targetable, and the only way to root out Brotherhood from Brotherhood held developments is by targeting the development, and that's something that has to be declared by the attacker. Then the defender, so of course the faction that's holding the region or development, they get first dibs at stating whether they're going to counter that challenge. So you'll see defender or counter attacker, because sometimes you might be fighting in like a thank you, Cody. Sometimes you might be fighting in a for instance, a sea region or a neutral region, in which case you both count as attackers for the purposes of like battle resolution, because like one of you couldn't secure a route or something like that. But for this example, we'll say that they're attacking an enemy held faction region. That faction gets first dibs to say they want to counter it. Let's say that they do. He's going to enter that faction. They're going to roll for their event, and then what commander that they choose. And then the opportunity is opened up for allies to jump in. Now there's 2v1 battle rules that we have to go that are I'm not going to go through, but that are listed in the core rule book. So if people, 2 other factions are generally going to jump in and state whether they want to be challenging or skirmishing, and on which side they want to be fighting for. There might be the odd case where 2 factions want to be fighting on one side and the other faction cannot or does not have a willing ally, in which case there's a special page for rules for that, for how to resolve that, that we can reference. Any in or what an individual row on this sheet means. I think that one thing I forgot to mention is the castle. There's a castle drop down, and that is something selected by the defender, and that needs to be resolved right away at the time of the challenge. So if you go to MCL Drive Season 1, the campaign map details page, at the bottom of the campaign map details page is a castle reference. The castle reference gives all of the different types of castles. There's castles marked parentheses D, and that's a castle where the defender may only select this castle if they control the development or have the consent to the faction who controls the development. There's weird ones like T for Trident, where the Tullys have some weird rules about a location where they can choose between 2 developments. And then there's a castle type that can only be used if you're being attacked from the sea, which is why we have to log whether you're coming by land or sea. Any questions about that? Castles, challenge phase. If not,
Do you want to run like a quick sample of how a challenge
I do.
initiation? Okay.
I would love to, and I'm just going to get through what you can see on the page real quick, and then we'll do that. At the bottom, you'll see there are a couple other weird things that have to be logged. There is the target of Destructive Stormfront. So Destructive Stormfront is one of the events that can be rolled on a D20, and it cancels, I believe it cancels coin and might income. I'd have to look at it. Where do I have that sheet? I've got that sheet somewhere. Can you hand me that? Never mind. I don't know where it went. I have an event sheet that I will have out during the actual thing, where I will probably assign to one of the referees to be checking off the events that have been rolled. When 3 gets rolled, we'll just need to log that where the site of Destructive Stormfront is, because it's going to affect what that region pays out. Target of Tywin Lannister's Lion's Pride. That's something that won't happen in month 1. That's like a vengeance type mechanic for the Lannisters. Target of Ghost of High Heart's Fatal Prophecy. That is a Brotherhood mechanic. That's actually a somewhat strong mechanic. Chornbow, if you're listening, Brotherhood last season forgot that 1 month and deeply regretted it. I think they had this great opportunity come up, but they had forgot to declare it. So definitely don't forget to declare that during challenge phase. Make sure to read the Ghost of High Heart's character trait for details on how that functions. I think it's just it gives minuses to somebody's death save or something, and then it pays one faction if they die and the other faction if they don't die during a battle that they're declared in. And then there's the... Sorry, go ahead, Chernbo.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh.
For a reminder.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Perfect. All right. The last thing, I think that the only other weird thing that gets that happens in challenge phase is the lavish tourney. So we'll be going along through challenge phase, doing events, setting up battles, and then all of a sudden somebody is going to roll a 20. The first person to roll the 20 gets the event lavish tourney. They get to declare where a lavish tourney takes place, and that kind of pauses the whole momentum of challenge phase. It's this just kind of funny thing where they get to declare a region, either one that they own or one that they can gift it to a willing part. House Baratheon could offer that the Lannisters host it in King's Landing, for instance, and if the Lannisters accept, then therefore it's hosted in King's Landing, which gives some perks to the, gives I think a coin payout to the Lannisters. But at that point, we will have to stop and go around the room and ask each faction representative if they would like to contribute a character to the lavish tourney, and then we'll just have all those people who do want to participate. There's some rules about what gets a +1. They'll roll a d6. We'll do that you can just pop your d6 roll in general chat, and me and Griffin will make sure to get that all logged. We'll determine who the winner is. We'll determine if any of those characters are injured. And luckily we won't have to do that in the Discord because it'll be logged live in this sheet as we're filling it out. Any questions about lavish tourney?
The Starks always send Hodor forever, and amen.
True. Hodor. Not much in the joust, but a hell of a contestant in the melee. Okay, I think that's everything. Oh, last thing, at the bottom of this sample challenge log, you'll see that there are tabs that are the battle logs that are filled out during battle phase. So you can see I've named the first one, third battle of King's Landing. That's because it was the third battle that had occurred in the King's Landing region in the Season 0 campaign. And you can kind of see a little foreshadowing of like how those are filled out. We've tried to do drop downs for as much as we can. But I don't think anything's crazy confusing on there. That's just something that you'll fill out when you'll fill out the list portion of it before your battle, and you'll fill out the bottom like last 5 rows or so after you resolve a battle. Just a little spoiler on that. Okay. Would you guys like to do a just sample pass through of a challenge phase to get the flow of it? If no one else has any questions, I will just delete those. And we'll run one. Judging by the people leaving, that they got all the information that they wanted. Okay. Turnbow, you are might rank 10, which means you go first. Oh, and at this point we would have Hot Shots table open. When they originally made this table, I love what they did with this table. The only thing I don't like about it is I don't like the commanders on their like starting territory. Like I like it for the visual of how strong they are, but when we did this in person, we had the commanders off around the edges of the table because they're not geographically bound yet. But we can take the time to fiddle around with that and set all that up later. For now, we can leave it. So Churnbow, if you were a normal faction and not a brotherhood without banners, then the first thing that you would do is roll a d20. But since you're the brotherhood without banners, in 10th place, and that's actually the critical part, is your might rank 10, you get to select an unrolled event instead of rolling it.
Do I have to say one right now?
Yes, please do.
Let's say number 6. I don't know what number 6 is doing, but
All right, we're gonna say number 6. So I'm gonna put on here. Oops, that's a 9. Upside down dyslexic. Number 6, all or nothing. Okay, so you can see I popped that in there. We know the attacker faction is going to be Brotherhood Without Banners. And now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to declare a commander.
always Barrack.
You're going to declare Barrack. Okay. And then I'm going to skip these next 3 columns because we don't know if you have allies yet. You're going to declare what region he starts in. So give us a starting region.
Let's say Ashenmark from the Lannisters.
Okay. The starting region is Ashmark. And where is he going?
No, sorry. Starting region is black. Is the Stony Sap my home region, and I want to go to the Ashmark.
Okay, I'm going to point out to you that in month 1, you may spawn anywhere. So it actually hardly matters where you declare your starting region. The only reason that it matters where you declare your starting region is if you're trying to like bypass a castle or something by hitting like by land instead of by sea or something like that. So yeah, just so you know, in month 1, you don't have to start in a region or development that you control. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I missed the name of the starting
Okay,
region.
I want to go to start in Ashmark, and I want to
You're cutting out a little bit, but I'm let's say Golden Tooth to Ashmark, which is obviously going to be by land. All right, and so then the next person I would turn to would be, the next person I would turn to would be Anna. Anna gets first dibs to counter it, and surprise, surprise, Anna is going to counter it. Anna, would you like to do a challenger skirmish? Anna wants to counter skirmish it. She doesn't want to spend one of her 2 challenges. Now, she doesn't have to spend one of her 2 challenges because it's not her turn yet. If it were her turn, she'd have to spend a challenge if she had it, but it's not her turn. She's going to select who for her commander? She's going to select Jamie. Okay, so now we know there's a battle on the board. It's Barrick versus Jamie in Ashmark. She also would have to select the castle. I'm assuming... Actually, I should have asked you first, Turnbow. Are you targeting the development to try to conquer it? I assume you are. I assume you're not just there to, like, cross blades with Jaime Lannister for no reason. I can't hear you, but I'm going to assume that you are targeting the development, which would be a likely play for Brotherhood, unless they were teaming up with somebody else who wanted to control the region. So I'm going to say development targeted, yes. So in this case, Anna would look at her map details page. She would see that she does not control, I don't think, the development in Ashford. Yeah, she does not control the development at Ashford, which means she can't use the castle to defend it. There's no eligible castle for her to use, so it's not going to be a break the siege battle. It's going to be a field battle. So we're going to put castle none. And once we have that locked in, then we can determine any allies. Does anybody want to jump in? At this point, it would be open floor. So I'm going to say that House Bolton is like, oh yeah, we're down with Barrick. We're all about Barrick. And they're going to roll. And they get 19 flesh wound. And I'm going to check this off the list. So we've used 6 and 19. And they're going to send Roos. And then the Targaryens jump in. And the Targaryens say, we're going to send Bears. They don't have Barristan in month 1, so...
Strong bell loss.
Send old Jorah Mormont there. Screwed that one up. And I'm just now realizing, I'm glad we're doing this test because I'm realizing that I need to add vassals to these drop downs. And they're gonna also do a skirmish. So there we've just filled out 1. Now, a weird thing that could happen is, if the Boltons stay out of it and everyone else stays out of it, and the Lannisters can't get somebody, or sorry, the Brotherhood can't get somebody, the Brotherhood could decline a team battle if they wish, or they can play the bigger list size. But in a setup like this, where they're challenging, and these Targaryens who are trying to piggyback their way into the fight just on a skirmish, the Brotherhood could say, we decline the team battle. Does that make sense?
But if it's double challenges, they have to fight the 2v1, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Okay, I think you guys are grasping it, not hearing questions. I'm going to add vassals to those drop downs. We'll fill in this, we should leave on January 17th. We should leave a completed sheet like this. We should leave with a S1 declarations that has all the important things that were stated, and we should leave with the scribes cleaning up all the little details on their live sheets to make sure that information is all up to date. And then it's going to be up to the faction leaders. Leon's going to have this chart in front of him, and he's going to see the however many spots that have Greyjoy battles scheduled, and he's going to go to his Greyjoy channel and be like, okay, what are you guys thinking? Who likes this commander? Who likes this? Who's interested? Who has a good idea for cracking this castle or defending this castle or whatever? He's going to kick those things around, and he's going to look. He's going to say, oh, one of them is against the Brotherhood, and so he's going to. You guys can do this in general. You can do this in private message or whatever. But he's going to reach out to Churnbow, and he's going to be like, "Hey, Churnbow, we'd like to send this player to this battle. Just so you know, are you cool with that? Would you rather, both factions have one, I think at least one casual player on their list. So, we have two battles against each other. Where would you like us to both send our more casual player versus our more competitive player?" And they'll make that arrangement and get that battle scheduled and then get it played within the 30 days. And then before the battle, they will get with a referee. They'll log their list. After the battle, that referee will log the outcomes and will add everything to the Google Sheets and S1 declarations. So an S1 declaration at the end will look something like this. House Greyjoy gained a total victory over Brotherhood Without Banners at Pike. House Greyjoy earned +5 might. Thoros of Myr was injured. Beric Dondarrion withdraws to Iron Man's Bay. So there's a sample in S1 declarations of what like a battle outcome would look like. They're actually going to have a lot more detail than that because they're not more detail. They're going to have more data because there's going to be a lot of characters that participated that had character traits that triggered, coin that was used to adjust army size and things like that, and all that's going to go in a declaration like that. Any questions about that? Okay. I'm starting to feel like a schizophrenic person talking to myself. Go ahead.
If I challenge it at Ashenmark and the Lannisters react to that challenge, do the potential allies have to be declared at this moment, or can they be declared later at another challenge or another skirmish battle?
Great question. Yes, they have to be declared. That challenge, all parts of that challenge have to be resolved before we move on to the next. Now,
Okay, and
things.
a later skirmish.
I want to add one little detail. To what I said. Little details can be changed in any order while we're working on resolving that one challenge. So, for instance, a certain ally enters on Lannister side and they say, "Hey, I want to help you win this battle, but like you're using this castle, and I think we do better in a field fight than a battle." That's fine. The Lannisters can then say, "Okay, we're changing it from a siege, a break the siege to a field fight." that is something that you can change before you move on to the next challenge. But everything has to be like resolved and locked in that challenge before we go on to the next person's turn, and then we can't go back. I think that the only exception to that rule is going to be there's actually two exceptions. There's an event called Clever Ruse that says after an enemy counters your challenge, you may return your commander to reserve. The enemy commander remains in that region and may not move again this month. The enemy does not spend a challenge if this effect occurs. So that is one exception, and then the other exception is the House Aaron Marriage Alliance effect, which makes it such that when Lavish Tourney is rolled, if one of those factions is hosting Lavish Tourney, no battle can take place in that region for that month. And if there already had been a battle scheduled in that region, all of those commanders who had been sent there revert to their previous positions. And if any challenges were spent there, those get refunded and can be used again. But those are the only two exceptions.
And then Rob Stark's ability, right?
Yes, but Rob Stark's ability is just Clever Ruse. Rob Stark's ability just lets him basically force the die roll of Clever Ruse. I'm pretty sure is how it's phrased. Is that right? Let's look.
Do you want to talk about the case where you have a full like 2v2 and then one ally or the other declines to take the field?
Yes, we'll talk about that in just a second. Rob Stark. Yes, Rob Stark, first trait, Young Wolf's Cunning. After the Stark player rolls an event, if Rob is available, you may replace that event with 9 Clever Ruse, then place Rob on the board for the challenge. When Rob is commanding in a region controlled by the faction of the commander opposing him, enemies do not gain commander bonuses against him. So that's something that would derail you. Chornabo, did that answer your question?
Yes, and I have another question in follow up. After all the challenges are declared, if I still have any commanders left, I still can do some additional skirmish battles, right?
That's correct. You can also put those commanders out in skirmish battles when it's not your turn, in reaction to other people. I hope that's clear.
Okay, anywhere or just for this?
In month 1 anywhere, and Brotherhood has very flexible, cheaty rules for where they can send their commanders. So in month 1, you can pop up anywhere. In subsequent months, the Brotherhood have no location restrictions, so they can travel any distance. But you have to keep in mind, as the Brotherhood, that when you travel these really long distances, you're still vulnerable to intercept. So you still have to like declare your path as you move a character, and if anybody wants to intercept that, they can do so.
Okay.
Okay. So answering that, moving on to kind of Christian's Funar's point about
the 2v1 and the forced.
Right. When you're in a team game. So there are on page, let's see. Page 16 talks about some like different tactics and stuff, but this has been coming up a lot in the FAQ. We've been putting a bunch of stuff in the FAQ, which is in Rules and Admin. So you'll see that there's a couple different tactics mentioned. There's battle griefing, skirmish griefing, and challenge griefing, which are not allowed, and then skirmish feinting, which is allowed. So this is kind of adjacent to Funarf's question. Funarf's question is kind of isn't about the intent of the faction that drops out, just like if they drop out. And the answer to his question, though, like actually does kind of rely on intent. So the general rule of thumb to like help you understand this is if you're trying to like exploit the rules like in a way to get an advantage but prevent your opponent from being able to play the battle, then you're probably like cheating. That's probably an exploit, and the referees are probably going to say that's not allowed. But rather, if instead you're just trying to like maximize your advantage but still play the battle, then give your enemy the opportunity to play the battle, then it probably is legal. So to answer Funarf's question specifically, when one faction drops out of a team battle, it's going to depend on whether they had put forth that commander in a skirmish or a challenge. If they had put that commander forth in a challenge, generally, and it's not, if it's determined not to be like a griefing scenario where they're actually really trying to, exploit the rules against the faction that they were like teamed against or something like that, then there's no penalty. If, however, they challenged, then they suffer the penalty of an injured commander and well, actually just an injured commander. They don't automatically suffer a total defeat because their remaining ally still has to play the battle. But just to cover these real quickly, so like battle griefing, this is a little bit different because this happens during battle phase, but just to be clear, it's definitely illegal to like put forth a bad list and play badly because you have some diplomatic deal with the opponents that you're trying to sap the guy that you're fighting alongside. Don't do that. Skirmish griefing. Skirmish griefing occurs when two factions are conspiring together against one faction and trying to prevent them from being able to fight a battle at all to contest a region. One of the ally factions puts forth a commander in a challenge, which is opposed by the enemy's commander in a skirmish. The second ally faction, having a higher might rank, puts forth their own commander on the side of the enemy. The first ally, receiving no other support, declines the battle, causing the enemy to be bumped from the battle for having a lower might rank than the second ally. The first ally then gains an automatic victory, while the second ally declines to take the field. This tactic is illegitimate, so just don't do that. If you're trying to, if you got some backroom deal that just results in like, oh, I can take this guy's territory because I can like shuffle the commanders around and he can't fight the battle, that's illegal. However, if you scroll down to skirmish feinting, this is legal. So skirmish feinting occurs when three factions conspire together against one faction and are trying to prevent them from declining a team battle, instead force a 2v1. So a situation like this would be where I'm trying to think of a good example. Basically, you have two factions that do have really strong legitimate interests to be working together and taking the field against one opponent, and they have the resources to pull this off, but they're worried that the opponent will just sort of use the rules to get out of that, even though there's not really any canon reason why both armies wouldn't take the field against that one. So one of the allied factions places a commander in opposition to the enemy faction's commander. The second allied faction joins the side of the first, while the third allied faction puts forth their commander on the side of the enemy, fully intending to decline to take the field. So that is legitimate. So if you have a coalition of three different factions and two of you guys take this field on the side of your enemy, and the third faction just skirmish supports the enemy, just to prevent them from being able to decline the battle or maybe prevent another enemy from going in, that's legit. That is not exploiting. And the reason is because, well, first of all, like it's 3v1. This is something that could potentially happen. That army's sort of just being used to block reinforcements. And it still gives the solo faction like the opportunity to defend themselves. Not only do they still get to play the battle, but they get like double army size and things like that because they're fighting a 2v1. Did that clear that up? All right. Well, I think that's everything. Thank you very much for being here. Do not hesitate to reach out. As always, I love the DMs. I love answering the questions. And see who's still here. Chornabo, you've been super great, dude. You're being a dynamite faction leader. I love the little role play